ask you a question. I thought you'd be great to answer this. You know, we're starting to see, I saw a story earlier today about another fighter whose camp leaked a picture of him dropping one of his sparring opponents. Is that now going to be the norm with boxing now that people kind of release what goes on in the gym, or are you still into that? What happens in the gym stays in the gym. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are this. One of my rules in my gym is this. I don't allow recording sparring sessions only. When anybody comes into my gym, you know, they can take pictures, you know, they can record, you know, doing doing mids, punching the bag. But when it comes to sparring, I consider it, especially if you have a bad purpose for it, it's very unprofessional. It is very unprofessional, and it's disrespectful for the fighters to do that. Why? Because I just think that what happens in the gym, especially in the sparring, should stay there. It's for the fighters themselves. I mean, it's nobody else's business to know what happens in the sparring, because the sparring session is different than the fight. You know, you're not gonna see the same thing. I mean, you might simulate, but it's not the same. That's disrespectful for either fighter, you know. And taking a picture of something that is not supposed to be, or if somebody gets dropped and you take a video and you show it out to the world, that's very unprofessional and disrespectful for the fighter. It's unacceptable.
Plus, there's different levels, like the first day of sparring versus 34 weeks into sparring.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. A lot of people they only see the moment of the situation that just happened, but they don't know what's behind. There could probably be a former world champion coming in the gym that is way out of shape, has not trained in months, and decides, you know what, let me put the gloves on and, you know, and I'll help you a couple rounds. And obviously, he's not in conditions to spar because he's not in great shape. And, you know, he gets caught, he gets dropped or whatnot. And then it happens at that moment, you get a video or you get a picture, and then they throw it out there. That's very disrespectful. I don't really allow that.
It happened with Floyd Mayweather versus, or not versus, but when he was sparring Paul Spadafora. Remember that?
Yeah.
He looked out of shape.
I remember that, but a lot of people don't see that.
Exactly.
They just go by that humiliation of the fighter, and it's not supposed to be, you know?
Paulie should be mad then?
Of course, Paulie should be mad. If you can see Paulie, you can see his face. He's swollen. You know, obviously he hasn't trained and he's retired. You know, he hasn't sparred in years, and by doing that, honestly, I mean, I would see it this way. I would evaluate myself if I would do something like that. Instead of making myself look good, I would look bad. Because you don't do that to another person, especially, you know, humiliating them like that. That's unacceptable.
Do you think that these type of, with this fight itself, that's kind of changing? It's kind of changing the culture of the sport now with the league. Have you noticed that any other things that are changing, kind of like hallowed traditions of what happens in the gym, or is this kind of an isolated thing?
You know, there's a lot of things. Me as a boxing trainer, there's a lot of things that I see that honestly bother me in a way. But like I said, boxing is a sport and it's also a business. When you see a Floyd Mayweather 49-0 against a Conor McGregor that in the boxing business is has 0 fights. I mean, he's 0-0. I mean, in the commission of Nevada, they're very strict with accepting fights. And sometimes I've had some of my fighters come to Las Vegas, Nevada, and just because the other fighter's record is not, you know, too good, they're like, oh no, the commission did not approve the fight because due to the record. I mean, but look at this. I mean, how bad can that be? 49-0 against a guy that's never fought in the ring as a boxer. Yes, he's fought in the MMA industry, and he's a great fighter. Take nothing from Conor McGregor, but it's a completely different sport. I train MMA fighters, and I see MMA fighters stepping in the ring with some of my top elite fighters in the professional boxing business. Excuse me, and it's a completely different story. But obviously, a lot of people want to see it. You know, I cannot judge people. They want to do it. They want to pay to watch this fight. It's fine. We're here. We're going to see some great fights, obviously. But I just see mixing two sports together in one. You know, people want to see it. Let's go ahead and let's move on. And and watch it, but I'm not a real fan of it.
And, you know, you're training Tomás Delorme for the first time
Yes,
for this
sir.
fight. Getting ready for Sean Porter. Then a couple weeks out, it gets changed to Ugas, who's a complicated fighter. How was the transition preparing from Porter to Ugas?
Well, it's a complicated transition because focusing on a fighter, styles are different.
Exactly.
Sean Porter's style is completely different from Ugas, and I've been part of Sean Porter's career in 3 different occasions. My brother Julio fought him once, and Julio beat him, but they gave it a draw.
Right.
And then Julio fought him the second time, and Julio lost to him. You know, clear loss. And then I was part of with Sean Porter's camp when he fought Devin Alexander, because his father approached me and said, hey, you know, help us out. I know that the only fight that Devin has lost was to Tim Bradley, and you put the plan together. Okay, came in and helped him out. So I was very, very focused on stepping in the ring with Tomás Delorme, a guy that has a lot of power, great boxing ability, and one of the best shapes of his life against Sean Porter. You know, that fight to me was, you know, I wanted to show the world what I can do with Tomás Delorme against a top elite fighter like Sean Porter. But now that it's changed, now I have to make the transition to a fighter that is, I don't underestimate Ugas.
He's on a roll too.
He's on a roll too. He was a former Olympian, Cuban fighter, comes from great school, and I'm not taking him light either. But I have to make the transition in just a period of a week and a half, you know?
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah, it is. But we have to adapt, you know. I know it's not gonna be, this is not my first time, and it's not gonna be the last that things like this happen. In boxing, things can happen any minute, you know, and things can change any minute until the first bell rings and you're in the ring.
Now, going back to what you mentioned, you said that you also train MMA fighters. When you go in to teach them essential boxing skills, do you find that you have to pull back on certain technical aspects to accommodate what they do in MMA with the striking and the grappling, or do you teach them like you would instruct any other boxer who comes into your gym?
That's a great question, but I'm a boxing trainer. When an MMA fighter approaches me to train them, I train them just full boxing. I teach them the boxing just like I teach a regular boxer, because that's what I teach, just boxing. Cub Swanson came to me like 8-9 years ago, and I've been teaching them nothing but boxing. And obviously we correct a little bit of things on their stance, on their footwork and stuff. But it's hard. It's hard to maintain them there, because that's their ability, that's their stance. You know, they switch because they use their feet, they use their elbows. But some fighters tend to combine everything. But when you stick to one thing that is boxing, it's a little bit more complicated. But I only teach fighters nothing but boxing.